From the banks of the Allegheny, welcome to Film Bits. Oh man, things are getting good and hot now. Let's just jump right in, shall we? We left off with Anton Chigurh being broken down on the side of the road and some neighborly good Samaritan stopping to see what's up.
Hey, what's the problem there, neighbor? Yep, that'll suck some power.
I love this guy. He's a
Over
great
time.
bit role.
You from around here?
Yeah, Alpine, born and bred. Here you go.
What airport would you use?
Well, airport or airstrip?
Airport.
Well, where are you going?
I don't know.
Just lighting out for the territories, huh?
Brother, I've been there.
Well, there's airstrips. The airport is El Paso. If you want someplace specific, you might could be better off just driving to Dallas, not have to connect. You gonna clamp him, buddy?
Can you get those chicken grates out of the bed?
What are you talking about?
Quick edits. Here we go. Boom. Chigurh chicken truck. Airplane. Pan down. Desert Sands, El Paso. That's where Moss's wife is going to meet him. This is the motel they're going to meet at. And there's Moss.
Hey, Mr. Sporting Goods.
Hey, yourself.
You sport.
Yeah, it's me.
I got beers in my room.
Oh, well, I'm waiting on my wife.
Oh, that's who you keep looking out the window for.
Half.
What else then?
Just looking for what's coming.
Yeah, but no one ever sees that.
Very important there.
That's what's coming. I'll bring the ice chest out here. You can stay married.
Oh, man, I know what beer leads to.
Bear leads to more bear.
Now watch what the Coens do here. They haven't employed this yet. Fade to black. Quick cut. Now we're at a POV behind... Oh, at Tom's POV. We're behind the wheel. Truck comes skidding out of the parking lot. Looks like one of those Mexican trucks, and we hear Spanish. Going so fast that it even didn't pick up one of its guys. Get some steady cam usage here, or some handheld cam usage here. Spent shells. That's the more beer lady sitting in the pool, dead. Wounded Mexican. And that, boys and girls, is Llewellyn Moss.
Call the police. Llámate a la policía. Local law enforcement.
I'm not on the radio.
All right. Oh, cow, do we got a lot to talk about here. This is going to take a little bit. Okay, firstly, the discussion between the pool girl and Moss. He's just looking at what's coming. And she says, but we never see that. And indeed, Moss didn't see what was coming. The Mexicans, different group, same group, I don't know, they still have that tracker. They can still find him. They knew he was going to be in El Paso because if you remember, the Mexicans that followed Carla Jean and her mother, and the Mexican then went up to talk to her, so they got the idea of where Moss was going to be. Then they get to El Paso, they employ the tracker, boom, that's how they find Moss. Now, that fade to black, which we've seen nothing but clean cuts this entire film. When the Coens employ the fade to black on Llewellyn Moss, that is a cue to tell us he's done. You are not going to see him anymore. He's gone. And sure enough, our next scene, he's dead in the room. Now, this film subverts the Western genre in so many ways. It sets itself up as a Western, a modern Western, but it's also a crime film. It's a chase film. It's a bit of a noir. But as a Western, it sets itself up that way due to the boots and the hats and the costuming, where we are in the Southwest. All of the early shots that we had with that montage of the nature, et cetera, et cetera. So it sets itself up as a Western, and then it turns us on our ear with that. The Western had good guys and bad guys. The hero wore the white hat, the bad guy wore black and the black hat. And indeed, Anton Chigurh is dressed in black when we first see him. Now, with this modern spin, things are a little bit different. Here, our hero, our lawgiver, Ed Tom Bell, our sheriff, doesn't want to interact. In a traditional Western, that guy is going after the bad guy, and he's going to win. And sometimes he gets the girl, or sometimes he just rides off into the sunset, right? But our hero doesn't want to get involved. So then the guy we root for, Llewellyn Moss, is not really a hero. He's more an anti-hero. Yes, he finds $2 million. As a hero, he would turn that into the police. But we all see how Llewellyn's living, and he's a pretty realistic guy. And how many of us would turn in $2 million? He realizes it's not going to be claimed, probably, because of the illicit nature of it. And so he takes that. And then we get to Anton Chigurh, who is classically a villain, but I don't like seeing him as a villain. I prefer to see him also as an anti-hero, because when we think of the context of his job and this time period and what is going on, he is darn good at what he does. He is not a psychopathic killer, but that's a discussion for the next part, okay? But we're going to go back and I'm going to rationalize a little bit more on why I feel Anton is not a villain. And another way they subvert that paradigm of the traditional Western is we have gone on now an hour and a half with Chigurh and Moss being the confrontation we think we are going to get. And it's building, and they have the showdown, and they both get wounded, and it's building. And then all of a sudden, they yank the rug from under us, and Moss just is dead. So unimportant in the big scheme of things that his death isn't even shown. Think about that. Who have we seen die? Who has gotten the bloody deaths? Why are the Coens making these decisions? Because in the big scheme of things, Moss is just kind of flotsam and jetsam. He's just caught up in this whole big thing. And it wasn't Chigurh that killed him. It was the Mexicans, the inept Mexicans that couldn't even find the money when they were sitting literally in the same room as the money. So all of this is screwing with our preconceived notions, while on our subconscious we kind of realize that this is a Western, but it's not quite behaving like a Western should behave. And so we have all of these sort of psychological conflicts. We might hit when I show this to my kids, many of them don't even recognize that as Moss because of the interesting angle. It's that high angle down on him. And older viewers probably pick it up, but holy cow, that's the Llewellyn Moss. That's a dude we've been following for an hour and a half. And now all of a sudden he's dead? What the heck? That's one of the many parts of the genius of this film and the genius of the Coen brothers as directors, particularly of this film. All right? So this is a huge moment. The Coens gave us a taste with that little poolside scene and the fade to black, and then they just jumped right on top of it to give us the true scene where we see Llewellyn's death. Actually, where we don't see Llewellyn's death, where we see Llewellyn's corpse. All right, let's jump back in here, baby. God, I love this film. Nighttime, crime scene. And look who's finally arriving at the desert sands. Carla Jean. And remember, Carla Jean went to Ed Tom Bell to protect Llewellyn. And Ed Tom Bell couldn't even do that. Cut to the morgue. Ed Tom having a moment, maybe disappointed. This guy died. He was going to be his protection. Now, this next scene at the diner is very important. Listen to the dialogue closely. I'll have a lot to say after we're done.
Buy you a cup of coffee before you drive home.
No money in his room there?
Couple hundred on his person. Those hombres would have taken the stash.
Two old men.
I suppose so.
And this isn't a country for either of them.
It's all the goddamn money, Ed Tom. Money and the drugs. It's just goddamn beyond everything. What's it mean? What's it leading to? You know, if you'd have told me 20 years ago, I'd see children walking the streets of our Texas towns with green hair, bones in their noses, I just flat out wouldn't have believed you.
Signs and wonders. But I think once you quit hearing sir and ma'am, the rest is soon to follow.
Oh, it's the tide. It's the dismal tide. It is not the one thing.
Not the one thing.
Yeah, well, none of that explains your man, though.
Uh-uh.
He's just a goddamn homicidal lunatic, yet, Tom.
I'm not sure he's a lunatic.
Yeah, well, what would you call him?
Yeah, sometimes I think he's pretty much a ghost.
Oh, he's real, all right.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, all of that over at the Eagle Hotel? Just beyond everything.
Yeah. Got some hard bark on him.
Well, that don't hardly say it. He shoots a desk clerk one day, walks right back in the next, and shoots a retired Army colonel.
It's hard to believe.
Just strolls right back into a crime scene. Now, who'd do such a thing? How do you defend against it? Well, good trip, Ed, Tom. Sorry we couldn't help you, boy.
So much going on there. That guy has a bit part, but boy, does he deliver some important dialogue. Okay, let's go back inside the diner. Firstly, we have another old man, and he, just like Ed Tom, cannot fathom just the state of the world. If you had told me 20 years ago I would see our Texas kids with bones in their noses and green hair, and Ed Tom, we cut back to Ed Tom, and he's like, yeah, buddy, yeah, preach it. And then signs and wonders. Once you stop hearing sir and ma'am, the rest is soon to follow. So once you stop just even those basic pleasantries, which you're not hearing anymore, well, things are going to go downhill. And then back to the other sheriff. It's the tide, the dismal tide. It's not the one thing. It's change. It's what every old person eventually has to face. I'm freaking old and things are not making sense to me. So they have that discussion inside, but they also talk about, at the very beginning, and you can go back and listen, they talk about how Moss only had a couple $100 on him and there was no stash of money. All right? And Ed can't he's still got a sharp mind, even if he doesn't want to engage. He's like, wait a second. Moss had all this money. Those Mexicans were leaving in a hurry. I literally drove up on them when they were coming, and there was no money to be found. They couldn't have gotten the money that quickly. What in the hell happened to the money? So that's what's going through Ed's mind before they get into this discussion of men that don't have a country. Then they go outside and we get some more plot and realize that this ex-Army colonel, who was Carson Wells, that Sugar has the balls to have a gunfight in the Eagle Hotel one night, then go into the very next day into an open crime scene, go back there, and then kill Carson Wells. And the other sheriff says, who would do such a thing, and how do you defend against it? Cut back to Ed Tom's monologue. I don't want to put my life at risk for something I don't understand. Now we see a peer of Ed Tom's who doesn't understand the same thing. And then he comes out with that same label that we've heard to describe Shakur, a homicidal lunatic. Carson Wells has called him a psychopath. He will also be called crazy later on. But Ed Tom does not subscribe to that. Ed Tom says he's a ghost, which is very important going into our very next scene, what's coming next. And Ed Tom also dismisses it like he's got some hard bark on him. I love that. He's a tough guy. He's not cut from a normal cloth. And the other sheriff says, well, that don't hardly describe it. So, little seemingly throwaway scene of a discussion at the diner that has a lot going on. Now we're going to finish here with what is the beginning of what will be an important scene coming next time. Ed Tom goes back to Llewellyn Moss's room. Also, real quick, that hold on him. The last thing that the shot hold on him, and then the slow push in with the camera lens. When the other cop says, I'm sorry we couldn't save your boy, and Ed Tom is still ruminating. He's still thinking, damn it, I lost Moss. But he's also still thinking, damn it, where is that money? This doesn't make sense. And even though he hasn't wanted to become active at all, he goes back to the scene of the crime. We saw Ed Tom pull his pistol the first time when he was approaching the crime scene with Llewellyn Moss. That was the first time we saw him use his gun. It's taken us this long in this kind of movie to get his gun out. That's a great shot right there. Wrestling with it. Okay, I gotta do it. Shadows. Remember when he had the shadows in the TV? Remember when he was looking at the reflection in the TV and there was weird shadows? We're seeing them here, and we're going to see more of them. But that is for next time. Wow. Llewellyn Moss, dead. Where's the money? Where the hell is Anton Chigurh? He didn't even kill Moss. And what is Ed Tom doing going back to the scene of the crime? Most of those will be answered next time on Film Bits. Thank you. See you soon.